We should actually probably think about what we're going to talk about.
No, I think we should start it with this.
I think that's a
Are
good
we
idea.
recording?
Hey,
Yeah. We
recording.
just ran a first one where we told you guys about how to eat chicken with your hand.
So Laura and I did this thing today where we said, let's just start recording, because in the past our episodes have been like, let's have this whole topic and let's go deep into it. And today we were like, you know what? Life is already deep enough. We just need some comic relief. So we decided to start recording. With random questions that we were going to ask each other. And the first somehow led into a whole conversation about chicken.
Just your chicken.
Eating with your fingers, and it, you know, from that point there really was no salvaging it.
So here we are again. Welcome to Unplugged. We like the back end of life, being unplugged, unhinged, and never unhungry.
Always full.
We have our separate podcast, but we came here to kind of just sure. I think a lot of the times, at least with me, when I was growing my business, growing my life, I was a little bit lonely, and I was like, what is it behind the scenes that people actually do and talk about? And so we wanted to bring people in on what actually is like CEOs in the wild and how to be like Steph and I talk multiple times per day and building our businesses and doing our things. And I think people need to hear more of that, like the humanness, chicken included.
What kind of chicken cut do you like? No, but honestly, I think what's so interesting is, like, yes, we do talk very often, but most of the time what we talk about, all of it is interrelated with, I would call it the overarching theme of leadership.
Yeah.
Like self-leadership, personal leadership. But most of the time it's either us dying laughing and wiping tears from my eyes like we just were, or talking about like what is the deeper pattern that you're walking through right now, like in life itself, because that pattern typically is mirrored back in everything from business to relationships to what you do with your time. Like all of it is interrelated, and that's really the juice, you know. It's never like, hey, what is your caption? I mean, actually we do talk about that sometimes.
What was going to be
caption?
Oh, yeah, we do talk about that sometimes. I was like, what's going to be the end of that sentence? I don't know.
I don't know. But that's a big thing. And I think, you know, yeah, it's the human behind everything. And I think sometimes I notice in a lot of conversations I have with clients that they don't always realize that there is such a human element. That's why I say business is my most spiritual practice. Yeah. Where it is bound to bring up every single pattern that I have not looked at, because it is so easy to ignore all of those patterns when you're doing something quote unquote normal with your life, or you're numb and just doing what is the next step in front of you, which is not bad at all. It's just different. And when you're walking through this pattern of being in business and being in leadership, like you see every single side of yourself, and you also hold yourself to a different standard. And I think sometimes it's forgotten that, like, hey, like most of this is so fucking human. Like so human, and business is a piece of that human experience, not like, oh my god, I have to be on like at all times sort of thing.
I feel like that's honestly this season that we've both been walking through. It's like not having to be on, and which is a huge fucking ego death for me right now. I've been performative since I've been on my own, you know, and like being in that type of thing where it's like, no, your leadership is actually in the humanness of which that you are. Like that's where your leadership is. And sometimes that is forward facing and like doing this whole what we see as business. But right now I'm seeing it more, and why we wanted to like bring the comic relief here is like actually you can lead in the relaxation and like trusting the momentum that you've done and trusting the momentum that you've built, and that your energy is going to stay in the arena without you having to like push and forward facing and do the things. And you can actually go feel all of what life has to offer, especially during seasons of big leaps and growth. Like we're both going through that on the back end, and I'm sure someday we'll talk about it. I did actually just talk a little bit about it on my podcast, but because I do that.
I'll give you a full lowdown at some point.
Yeah, like a full when things are more like the foundation is laid. But I feel like the thing that I love about that is like leadership is so multifaceted. It's not
Mhm.
just like when I'm on and making a fuck ton of money and like fucking killing it. It's actually what is your leadership in the moments of not killing it, right? And like, can you hold
Mm.
that element of your leadership? And can you, what I have found for me is like in those moments, I want to lean out. Like, I don't want to tell anyone what's
Mm.
going on. I want to hide. I want to fake it. I want to do all the kind of things. Whereas I'm learning now is like, I'm honestly over communicating. I'm like sitting here being like, this is what's actually going on. Can I start to navigate these things and shift this and play in life and see what this is like and actually not try and have to fake it or like bulldoze through it
Control.
and actually just control and just sit there and be like, I'm safe, like it's okay.
Mm. I love that. I think so much of it, like I said I wasn't gonna get deep, but
I know we always do though.
there's a there's a window for it. It's coming out.
It's popping.
But, like, one of the biggest patterns that I'm walking through personally, that is literally, when I tell you it is fundamentally shifting every single part of my life, it is fundamentally shifting every single part of my life. I have no idea who I am on the other side of this. I'm starting to see it, but I'm noticing and just had this massive awareness through a few different situations that I've walked through recently of just all of the ways that I've tried to control love. Like I thought I came face to face with, anyone who's ever dealt with OCD understands where, a lot of my life I had very like particular rules for different things that I needed to do. And a lot of it was through like organization and whatnot. And there's a huge light side of that, which is I'm really incredibly good at systems and organizing things and finding a way through anything. On the flip side, I can also overcomplicate my entire life with details and therefore slow myself down. And one of the biggest things that I've noticed through kind of that experience and seeing that pattern just come up into my own eyes is that holy shoot, like there are so many ways that I've tried to control love and how I am perceived in order to make sure that love is always there. And seeing through that is like, holy fuck.
Mm-hmm.
There's so much space now. If I know that love is never leaving, there's so much space to be and to bring different sides and to be honest, instead of be a facade, which is really cool.
I love that. And like even in
Mm.
that way, because it is I think growing up, because we're so built to survive and
Mhm.
we fight for our parents' love and we fight for these different mechanisms, and like being able to do that in this lifetime and reparent ourselves and actually show
Mhm.
like a lot of us are sitting here being like, oh, love, like what if love leaves? That's something I'm working through with my coach right now, is like what if love leaves, and like the attachment to love, the attachment to home, the attachment to current situations versus the detachment and being able to trust love doesn't leave because you are love, and
Yes.
being able to like be in the moment of love and be in the moment of present moments versus taking 20 steps ahead where love has never stayed in my life, not even with my parents. Like I don't have that thing that's like love is here and love is to like, and for some
Mhm.
reason my version of life is just walking through that. And I really do think this is that season where it's like, how can you actually detach, where it's like love gets to stay from other sources but also from self.
From
And like you don't have to be able to control things, or my way is like not even manipulate, but like the anger and the things like that, like pulling for love. Like, can you just trust God? Can you just trust that love is
Mhm.
forever there within self? And then everything else is going to source
Mhm.
itself from that space of love.
That's so beautiful. Do you think that most I don't even know if I can say the word most, but do you think a lot of high performing women deal with that as well?
I think that's why we are high performing women,
Exactly.
because we were taught somewhere along the lines, the more you achieve, the more love you get. Because it's not a
Exactly.
natural tendency for a woman to need to provide. This is
Right.
something we learned through coping mechanisms as a trauma response. This is why I always say my trauma is my gift. Like it's sitting here, and I was actually supposed to say this in my speech over the weekend, and I totally
Hmm.
forgot. Where it's like people can get, my boyfriend like gets mad about how analytical I am and how I am like I am just that's who I am. Like I'm looking at different patterns. I'm looking at certain things. We literally just walked through this being like, Laura, don't list off the 10 fucking patterns you just spotted in someone. Like, just stop doing that. But it's just the way my brain works. And I sometimes can get caught up in like shaming myself about that because
Mm,
it's not like I can turn it off, but that's my gift of trauma. Trauma has taught me we need to read the room. We need to read under the signs. We need to read behind the
1000%.
signs. It's survival. And like, I would love to turn that off. But at the same time, what I realized over the weekend, that's why I am so fucking good at branding, because
Mhm.
I am creating something that you're not even thinking of. And I can pull it out and I can look behind and I can look underneath and I can look from the corners. And somehow you're sitting there being like, how the fuck do you know that about me? Like all these types of things. And it's like, because I'm hyper analytical. So I can
Because
sit
you're
there.
being hyper aware and I know everything about you
Exactly.
before you even open your mouth.
Before you even open your mouth. And that's what's so challenging about being my friend. And this is my gene keys. This is the thing, you have called me this before, where you are literally walking ecstasy. Like, if people don't want to look at it, they're gonna target you and they're gonna blame the drug. You are the drug. It's like, okay. But like, being able to sit in that space now and hold that capacity, it's like,
Mhm.
that is what high performance women do. We're reading, like, we have this heightened sense of intuition, right? And
Yeah.
to a fault, we're using it to seek love. And I think it's that release that you actually find freedom, like what you're navigating. It's just
Yeah.
like, I don't actually need to control. I just need to be love. And that's what I am also trying to walk through, where it's just like, I'm just going to not have to teach the lesson. I'm going to just have to like trust life and trust that that then gives me love.
Yeah. Like, you don't coach in your relationship. Like,
Exactly.
you don't coach in your life, right? Like, that beautiful gift, I kind of see, like, 2 different I'm sure there's multiple different, like, things that come from this, but from this whole pattern of, like, needing to control to get love, like, we have hyper independence because
Mhm.
it's way easier to close off my heart and provide for myself than it is to fully surrender and trust love. It's
Mhm.
so much easier to be like, I'm a lone wolf. I can survive. I don't really need it. I don't really need this friendship. I don't really need this relationship. Like, I've got me, I'm good, that sort of thing, which is so sneaky because it's so validated by the external world. And then on the flip side, exactly what you were saying, where it's like, interesting. I'm really, really good at overanalyzing, maybe not even overanalyzing, but like picking up on people's patterns constantly, right? It's
Mhm.
typically what's going to make you a really good coach.
Mhm.
And on the flip side, though, when does that get to be a lot?
Mhm.
And even as we're saying, like in relationship, for example, I think, excuse me, what makes us such good friends is that we can hold it for each other.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And we don't even like overanalyze each other.
No, I think it's the
It's so
coolest
interesting.
thing. Like, when I was speaking even this morning when we were FaceTiming, and you just looked at me and you get this look where like you see something in me that I haven't yet self-identified, and I trust your reflection of that so fucking much, because you always bring out the highest version of me instead of like it's always for my benefit. It's always from a space of love. And so you just literally, I was like, what? I couldn't even look at the camera. I was looking at something else. I was like, what? Just give it to me straight. And she goes, I'm gonna give it to you straight. And then she like pulled it out. And I was just like, yeah, you're right. You're right on that one.
But I think because there's such a high level of like deep responsibility, and
Yeah.
most of the time it's like I've got me, and most of the time it's like you've got you, and we
Yeah.
love sharing in this experience of being like, hey, look at what I found out, and you're like, hey, look at what I found out,
Yeah.
which is beautiful. And then there are times where it's like, hey, show me what I'm not seeing, or can I
Yeah.
borrow the way that you see me, and things like that. And I think that that's what's so beautiful about like especially female friendships is like we can hold that for each other.
Yeah.
Other places, on the other hand, if you are ever in relationship with the masculine,
Oh my God, don't you know?
do not handle that. Like, that's not how those relationships are meant. It's a lot to metabolize. It's a
Yeah.
lot to metabolize being like, here are the 5 different things that I see about you. And did you know that this is how your parents treated you when you grew up? And now you're still holding that and it comes out in this sort of way. And this is what we can do to fix it. And here's 5 different action steps that I can give you to make sure that my needs feel met. Like,
Yeah.
if you do that to your man, they're gonna be like, oh, okay.
I need to
Not
leave.
like, yeah, I need to go. Like,
Yeah.
why is this is a lot. I'm never enough. Like all of this stuff because
Yeah.
it's a different way of operating.
Yeah.
They need like one thing at a time. And so, anyways, um, yeah, I just think it's an interesting pattern to walk through as a high performer, like all the ways that we try and control that. But to bring this all the way back and tie it up with a bow, that whole thing with a masculine or with partnership, where it's like, oh, here's what you can do and, blah, 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 and here are all the patterns. It's the whole thing of, keeping ourselves safe.
Mhm. It's
Because if
all
you're
from
gonna
a
act
coping
like
mechanism.
it's
It
all
is
control.
all from safety.
Yeah. Yeah. Because if you actually trusted love, would that really be necessary? Or would it just be, here are the options?
And then
Yeah.
that's the thing that I'm navigating, because I literally sit here and I'm like, okay, here's how I see it. And if I can see it this way and you can act this way, then
Then
I'm safe.
then it will all be good. Like,
It'll
there's a
all
clear fix for this.
Yeah.
Here's the game plan.
Versus like what I am walking through and what I keep saying to like my coaches and Steph and everyone is like, most people would book it. Like this current season is just such a fucking mirror where it's like I'm sitting here being like, damn, this growth portal is so dope. I'm tired, I'm challenged, I'm expanded. Like it's so beautiful, but at the same time, it's like like I can see the clear picture. But the thing that we also have to learn as humans is sometimes that picture isn't meant to be painted by you. That person just has to find it on their own, and you just have to be a conduit and the pillar of like who you are. Like the way Ed Milet describes it is like a lot of the times we're the tugboat. Like we're sitting here, we're trying to tug people along, we're trying to convince them, we're trying to show them, we're trying to give them this five-step formula of here's why this, that, the other thing, especially as projectors, because we see things so fucking
So
clearly
clearly.
for other human beings, which makes us dope coaches, but frustrating partners at times and children. And then we're sitting there. But how he describes it is like, instead of the tugboat, all you're supposed to do is be a lighthouse, which is how he described feminine energy. But that's the same thing in these elements where it's like, can I just be? Can I just like, I get I did things wrong for a second. I get I got caught up in this, but can I just trust your leadership and just be the lighthouse of the love that I want to be met with in this world? Can I just trust that I don't actually have to control? And I read this the other day too, where it was just like, the way you get more love in your life is you release the expectations of other people. That's it. Whereas like as high performers, we have the highest of expectations for other people because I want the best for you and it's out of love. And so I want you to act better and do better. But at times that gets fucking exhausting being around because people will constantly feel inadequate in your presence. And I'm not saying I'm not getting this right now. It's something that I'm learning how to fucking do because just like you, it's like, this is my way of control because I've been hurt so much and left before and doing all these things. And so therefore I know how to do all of this stuff on my own. So my needs get met. But the deepest form of surrender and submission is sitting here going, oh, but also your needs.
Yeah.
Can I do this in that process too?
Yeah. Yeah. I think, the high standards thing has been so, that. Like for me, especially for myself, I totally hold everyone in my life to a very high standard. Parts of it have become comical at times where I'm just like, oh, I realize that.
Yeah.
But then when it comes to like my intimate relationship, my partnership, or with myself, yeah, like it's so intense. And I think, that's part of that huge pattern around controlling love is like, well, if I just perform at this way, at this level, or if I just figure this out, or if I just do it better, because I know that I can do it better, right? If anyone has ever been in the camp of, let me just do this 5 times over because I'm going to get it better the next time, the next time, the next time. Some of that's really good. I noticed for me, it's like some of that literally puts me in my own personal hell sometimes. I'm like, oh, I could just do it better. I could just do it better. I could just do it better. For who? For what? And is it really that getting it better is going to save you from this feeling that you're afraid of feeling, be it failure, be it shame, blame, whatever it might be? Or is really what's creating that feeling, the chaos in your mind surrounding, I need to do it one more time, sort of thing? Like I had that whole realization where I was like, it's never about the thing. It's about the chaos that my mind is creating, trying to tell me that I need to do it again or I need to do it better. It's really not do it again. It's I can do this better because I hold myself to such a high fucking standard. And then also in my relationship. And, I think in relationship, it can be such a good coping mechanism and like a defense mechanism on some level that appears very productive. But it's, for me, I've noticed it's such a defense mechanism that keeps me from sharing my heart. Because if I'm constantly holding you to a high standard, then I don't necessarily have to share my heart and where I am falling short or where I am, tender or what's hard for me or something like that. It's way easier to deflect and outsource. and control love. But in reality, that need to control love, or that the fear that love isn't going to be there, is never somebody else's thing. It's always my own, you know?
Mm-hmm. That's so
What's
good.
going through your mind? I can see your eyes.
My wheels turning. I'm sitting because it's so interesting. Like, as humans, how we try and orchestrate love by rejecting love. Like, it's this thing we
Right?
so deeply crave, each and every one of us. Just, I want to be loved for who I am, but I'm
Mhm.
also terrified of you seeing who I actually am and then leaving me and actually opening my heart to that type of love. And then what if it leaves? I can't fucking hold that pain. So I'm going to try and maneuver my way to love and orchestrate this false reality of what I actually am, or who I actually am, or what I desire, and all these things by targeting you in order to create this false sense of love that isn't actually us, which is completely being void of love.
Yeah,
Like,
exactly.
it has so many structures because at the same time we crave it, but at the same time we fear it. It's the same thing as fear of success. And so, can I
Oh,
control this in order
sabotage.
to prevent me from actually feeling love, so that I can have this self-fulfilling prophecy that love always leaves?
Mhm.
And it's like, no, love is trying to leave because you're trying to control. Love is trying to leave because it feels like I'm being choked out and I don't have any space, and you're trying to fucking do all these kind of things and I don't understand what's happening. And it's like, oh fuck, that
Or
pattern
you
coming
leave
up
it.
again.
Yeah,
Or you leave it. You're like, I
you
gotta
leave it.
go. I've
I gotta go. That's my thing. That's my
Yeah.
I mean, that's the whole high performer, right? Is like, I don't
Yeah.
need this. And Nolan and I were just walking through this whole thing,
Yeah.
especially when it relates to the next step of commitment in a relationship. Huh?
It's like, oh,
Uh, it's so real. It's crazy. Uh, by just realizing how, like, I have always had that mentality of, like, very much being independent, very much like, okay, well, if you weren't here, I would be fine.
yeah.
Like, I'm not gonna crumble without you. Like, like, I'll figure it out. I'll find some, like, I love him so much. So I've
Yeah.
never seen myself with anyone else. But that it sounds so logical of like, oh yeah, this is what my parents taught me because my parents got divorced, and so therefore I need to always have my own back. It sounds so logical.
Yeah.
But in reality, it's a really, really easy way to just close off part of my heart, to
Mhm.
still be in love, but still have part of my heart that is closed off, and to not fully surrender into that love. And then it sabotages the very thing that's right in front of me. It's like, oh, I'm
Mhm.
afraid of love leaving, so I'm going to leave first.
Mhm.
I can beat you to this. Like, I'm going to leave first. I'm going to be the one who's fine without this, whatever it might be. And that's never what my truth is actually
Yeah.
wanting. It's
It,
just,
to be able to fully feel love. Like, that's
yeah,
that feeling where it's like, honestly, something that's like coming to me fresh is like, I don't know what that is.
I don't either.
I don't know what that is. And to be able to move into that next season of life of like starting this family, right? Stepping
Mhm.
into that next thing, because then it's yours. Like, you are no longer a byproduct of your family. You now are making one and going on that journey of starting that union in that pattern. And it's like, that is, as much as you want it, it's like, oh, I'm actually kind of terrified of that.
Yeah.
Because one, that's a lot of fucking responsibility, and two, like, how can I love something so much that I don't know a pattern of love staying? I don't. And like,
Mhm.
even with me, like, I'll hit a capacity and then I'm like, fuck this, I'm out. Like, I don't fucking need this. I don't want to fucking do this. This is fucking hard. Like, and that's honestly the problem with modern dating right now, in anything, in business, and anything. Like, we were talking about this at the retreat as well, people talking about the inconsistently and dipping out of business as soon as it gets hard, and let me just start
Yep.
a new business plan and try this new model and do this next thing. It's the same thing with love. People are like, oh my god, this is hard, let me just go back on the apps, let me just go. And I have felt this where I'm like, this is fucking hard. I'm really good at dating is
Yeah.
not fucking hard for me. And it's just like one of those things. Then I'm like, oh wait, what if the lesson is to stay and to not take the easy way, and to actually face that fear of like feeling like love is going to leave, and being able to just sit with it and
Yeah.
actually give love in the process of conflict, and give love in the process of repair, and give love in the process of space and understanding someone else's needs outside of my own, so I can learn to soothe the little girl inside myself. Well, they go do that with their little boy, even if that's not what they're fucking calling it. It's just like, oh, can I just still be love? Because at the end of the day, if I'm trying to control it, I am love. Love can never leave me.
Mhm.
I am my joy. I'm like, that is my job.
Yeah.
And anything else is just an external reflection of the love that I feel within myself.
Mhm. Yeah. And it's the same exact pattern in business.
Mhm.
The same exact thing of like, oh, well, it got hard. Oh, I'm afraid of how people judge me. Oh, I hit this milestone. I'm afraid of being able to hold it. Whatever it might be. Oh, let me just, jump ship. Let me just close off my heart. Let me just not show up. Let me just start something new. Like it
Mhm.
comes out in all the sneakiest of ways. And so this pattern is not, it's not just one and done. Like, oh, it's just isolated in this one little area of my life. It's like if there is a pattern there, it runs deep and it
Mhm.
goes through everything. And that's where it's like when you look at that pattern, it starts to ripple through everything within life. Where when I look at, my relationship to my dad in my childhood and how that's changed who I am and how I show up in my relationship and how I show up in life, like it also impacts business. In fact, for me, a lot of the time it starts in business and then I realize how that same
Mhm.
pattern ripples through everything in my life,
Yeah.
which is wild. Yeah.
Yeah. Mine's the opposite. Mine's relationship. And then I'm like, oh,
Oh, that's so funny.
there she is again. She hit an upper limit. Let's cause conflict. Let's do this. And I wouldn't even say it's causing conflict. It's like all of a sudden I have more needs that need to get met. Like,
Bring up 5 things and then that inevitably causes conflict with the
conflict because
masculine
then
because
the
they're like,
male, the
I can't.
masculine is like, like,
Please, freedom.
just stop, just be happy. And I'm like, I don't know what that means. And it's just like, the devil comes out, and I'm like, I don't know.
But
But
to find someone also who's like, oh, like I see that's part of you,
yeah,
like, and I love that part of you, and it's
yeah,
okay. And
I
what do you
feel like
need?
that's what I get from this friendship, because
Mm,
anytime that part comes up in me, you're the first person in my life that has just been like, that's cute. And like she'll just be like, I love your brain, or I love the way it's doing that, like, or I love this kind of thing. And I'm like,
sweet.
everyone gets very, because I'm high strung. Like there's just a lot that goes through, and I get it. Like I'm like one of those people where it's just like, yeah, it's being with me is not for the weak, sweet honey little pie. Like I know that, and I'm not gonna fake that. Like
Yeah.
it's one of those things, and for having like this friendship where it's just like one of those things where like you find it the most beautiful thing in the world. It's just like there you
Mhm.
are.
Yeah.
Like there's space for that, and I'm like, oh, that's what love gets to feel like. Okay, cool, let me carry that in different avenues of my life. And I've seen that thread then happen in my other friendships and like things of that nature.
So sweet. But I think it takes one to know one,
Yeah.
like it takes one high performer to understand that
Mm,
mindset. Like
yeah.
there are differences, but there's also, it's like, God, I fucking drive myself insane sometimes in my own mind. It's like,
Yeah.
I get that. I get that part. And I've done the things and you've done the thing. That's why it's like you do the same exact thing back to me, and to Nolan and I were talking last night, and it was such like a beautiful moment of like, oh whoa. And I have this all of the time with you, where like my whole thing is like taking up space, which
Mhm.
is so funny because I'm a Leo rising, and nobody in my family would be like, Steph has a hard time taking up space. I'd be like, she takes up too much space.
Yeah.
That's also why I fear taking up space. Funny.
Yeah.
Um, but my whole thing is like taking up space, and there are times where like I'm very good at holding space, but you let me crack.
Mhm.
And like when I share something, you're like, no, keep going. Like, tell me more. And I'll like want to like divert and like be like, how are you? Like, what's going on?
Yeah.
You're like, no, tell me more. And I'm like, oh my God, like that's what it's like to actually be held. And it's always like, wow, like witnessing you is so beautiful in that. And I'm like, oh my God, that's what it's like to be held. And then same is true within my relationship. It's a little bit different because it's more like intermixed, but a lot of the time, like I don't I share a lot with Nolan, but I don't always crack my heart enough, is what I'm realizing, I think.
Mm.
I think there are deeper parts of myself that I'm very self sufficient in my own healing a lot of
Mm.
the time. Like, I have my girlfriends who really get it. I have my mom who really understands it. I have people in my corner. I have mentors to talk through all of this stuff. And so I don't always bring every single realization to Nolan. I sometimes will have the realization on my own and then share with him when the time feels right. But I'm not like, oh my God, you need to know X, Y, and Z. Sometimes we'll do that like with business. But when it comes to the more sacred things, I'm like, I've already talked to like 3 people about this, and like
Yeah.
I'm like working through it myself. Um and typically, especially like if it's not like something about him or whatever, it's just my
Yeah.
own personal thing. And so I finally let myself crack last night, and I shared with him a realization that I had at the end of last week. And he just listened, and then he was like, "Oh, like I now see like what we get to walk through
Yeah.
and what I get to, like that makes so much sense. And now I see like what I get to, he didn't exactly say these words, but like what I get to help you through." And I
Yeah.
was like, wow. to be received in that way. And I think it's also because it's not like I'm like dumping on him, like you need to like do all these. It was just me being like, this is what I'm noticing in my life, and this is where I realized like this comes from, and et cetera, et cetera. And he's like, okay, like that makes sense. And now we're a team in this, not like, oh, you've got to figure your shit out and I'll be here, which is, you guys have been such beautiful representations of what that's like and what that level of love is like in life.
I think that's the thing that's most expansive too. Like even hearing that, it's like, oh yeah, like being able to self-soothe and like hold things until they're processed, and being able to just kind of sit with discomfort. That's something I admire about you, is like you can just hold stuff for a little bit and like process and work with God and work with yourself and work with your just like healing modalities, and then be able to come share it from a spectrum of like, this is what I am navigating, without you needing to fix anything. It's just what I'm going through. And that's something that I'm slowly learning how to do, where it's just because, again, sense of control and needing to fucking fix things right away so that my life has more peace to it. It's like, no, we can actually just sit with this, sit with the emotions, sit with the process, feel things out. And then sometimes things don't even need to be spoken about. Like it can just be an energetic shift within self that then you can then bring to your container of love without needing to control anything. Like again, coming back to love of self and understanding your personal responsibility of things. And I know I have that strong, like I take every single thing. Like I do this to a toxic trait. Like the question we were asking in the chicken podcast was toxic trait. I was talking about eating with my fingers, but my toxic trait is I take full responsibility for fucking everything in my life to a fault sometimes, because I'm sitting here swimming in it. But it is one of those things where it's like, to be able to sit with stuff a little bit longer and then go, but it's up to me to fix it. My thing that I'm now learning to walk through is like, I want you to fix it though. Like it's you that's disrupting me. And the thing that I'm currently learning in the last 2 weeks has been like, my joy is my job. You are not responsible for anything that's going on in my body right now. If I'm having a reaction, that's entirely up to me, because I'm choosing to stay. I'm choosing to do this. I'm choosing to work with these types of people. I'm choosing to interpret it in these types of ways. So therefore, if I'm feeling some type of reaction, I'm the one that has to take a beat to do that. And what I'm recognizing is, although I've had this realization, my surrounding environment is taking a bit to catch up to that response from me. Right? Like even in my partnership, I know things in me have shifted tremendously in the last 2 weeks, but I'm recognizing his response back to certain things is still old Laura. And so responding in that type of way, being like, nah, you're fucking right. Go ahead. Go off. Like, do your fucking thing. Like, whatever the fuck it is. And I'm sitting here just being like, I'm not letting you break it. Like, you're not cracking me. Like, he'll say something and I'll start laughing because I'm like, this isn't going to work anymore. Like, I am not being that version. I want to sit in this thing and just, I want to find peace within self. Right? Like, this is what I want to have. And I can recognize my patterns of love and control, and like, we all go through it, that, like I can do all of this stuff in my own life, in my personal life, in my relationships, but like in partnership is where that's going to show up. And then to be able to sit here and go, okay, I can hold my emotion. I don't need to stress about it. And I don't need to project it onto you. And I can self-soothe. Therefore, you don't even have to know what's going on. And my joy is my job. So if I'm having a reaction to anything, it's my job to fucking self-soothe and figure it out. And then if I feel the need to bring you in on the conversation I'm having internally, I'll let you know. If not, and it doesn't go as right, I can just go, okay, I'll call Steph.
It's so interesting how there's like, we are like different sides of the spectrum on it.
Yeah.
Which is like, I need to get more comfortable sharing my heart more often.
Yeah.
And not having.
And I need to reserve.
No, don't reserve.
I know, but
I don't want you to ever feel, I say that because I don't want you to ever feel like you can't bring something. When
no,
you
but
need,
I'm literally working on this with my coach.
I know, like, it's that weird, awkward in between where you're like,
it's a thing where I'm just, but also I'm a projector. The way that I don't feel it in my body, I come to it has to be spoken. Like it's just the way my body works. And like, so to come to the conclusion, like I don't know, it's my strategy. And so what I'm trying to do is I have my coach and I have you, and like it's really the only two people that I kind of trust, and my friend Lauren, where I'm just like, everyone else, like I don't give a fuck. Not that I don't care about you guys, I love you, but like I am sitting in these spaces where it's like, not that I have to close my heart, because I wouldn't say that's open-hearted. I would say that's just me trying to process and figure things out versus let me just talk to God. and like know that there is no wrong answer, but like that version of me that needs to be seen and validated, not even validated for my what's going on. It's just
Mhm.
like I need to be witnessed in the process,
Yeah.
if that makes more sense.
Yeah, 1000%.
Yeah.
But also sometimes like, that's where it can be helpful,
Mhm.
to be witnessed in the process. And,
Well, case in point today, like if
yeah,
I'm doing it by myself, huh?
you have blind spots. And that's where I think
Like,
there's like a fine line. And this is where I get also tripped up, where for me, it's like a lot of the time, and this is same with business, a lot of the time it's like, same is true everything in life, but a lot of the time I'm like, I don't know how I come across. Like, I know what's in my brain, and my brain lies to me all of the freaking time. So like, what's your brain saying? Because like, I need a fresh perspective
yeah.
in this space. And that's so powerful. And that's also like a doorway that you've opened up for me, where in the past, like, I would have never done that. A lot of I've always kept my circle really small with those things. And also, I don't think I've had that many people. I have really close girlfriends that I can count on probably one hand that I really, really
Mm.
trust with their perspective. And I don't think I've had that many people where I'm like, oh, I trust how you see me,
Yeah.
And so to have that
Fair.
is such a powerful thing as well, which is
Yeah.
beautiful. Question.
Yeah.
Shall we keep rolling on this train, or do we actually want to follow through
Oh,
with a promise of some comedic
oh,
relief?
oh yeah. We said we weren't gonna go date,
Hey guys.
but that was really good.
36 minutes.
Okay, so what's your toxic trait?
This is also a glimpse into our relationship.
It's like, okay, we're done. What's up? What'd you eat for breakfast today? How'd you feel after?
Oh my gosh, wait, I have so many questions for you, actually. I'll do the toxic trait, and then I do have like life questions for you.
Okay.
Toxic trait, that I have size 11 feet.
Oh, right.
That's not the toxic trait, though. The toxic trait is we also live in like, it's not that we live in a remote area, but there aren't like malls are like 45 minutes to an hour away. Like, it's not close by to go and get. I also just don't like malls.
Yeah.
So we're going to Europe, and I don't buy shoes. I haven't since I was a small child. I would wear them until they had holes in them. And I don't like to buy shoes, but then when I go on a trip, I'm like, oh my God, I need to have the perfect shoes for this whole thing. And I'm really finicky about how things fit. So I decided to order 25 pairs of shoes for our trip to Europe next month.
She did.
And Nolan's like, what is happening? Because I'm also not like the serial Amazon like, I've seen videos where people like order, like they've got like 20 boxes a day at their store. And I'm like, I just personally, I don't always partake in that. And so Nolan's
Yeah.
like, what the fuck is happening? And I'm like, I brought the shoe store to me, and I'm only gonna keep like a couple pairs, but
Yeah.
I need to have options to choose from, like I
Steph
can't just
really
like,
likes
I
options.
love options, but then I get overwhelmed by options. I guess that's actually my
She
toxic trait.
loves options. We're going down the street. She has an entire luggage packed. It's fine.
I'm prepared for
She's
everything.
prepared. She's that mom.
That's a toxic trait. I'm prepared for everything.
She is.
I will have snacks for my child. How about you?
Um,
You gonna share a different one?
I kind of like that one. As I claw, I'm playing with my claws. My toxic trait that people don't necessarily like is that I'll finish my food and then I have to pick at the last bites with my fingers. I don't know why. It's just like a thing. And like I have to like do it, and like even ice cream, like I genuinely just have to pick it.
Oh my God, I've totally done the finger of spoon.
I
Ice
don't know
cream.
why. And I'm just
So
like, okay, oral fixation, come at me, bro.
do you still have stuffed animals?
My boyfriend got me a monkey.
Oh.
Yeah, his name is Chester. I can't finish the rest of what his actual name is, but we're just gonna end it with Chester.
This is Chester.
It's just Chester. What's that?
Oh my gosh, that's hilarious. I love that.
What was your other question?
Um, yeah. Oh, my other toxic trait, I'll just add one more because it's actually very fitting. I sometimes won't decide if I'm going someplace until like 24 hours before. If anyone listening to this followed me on Instagram back when I lived in Denver, I would do this religiously, where I would literally book my flight like 24 hours in advance and then leave, or just decide I was going someplace. That was when I was single and in a very like convenient location to be able to travel from. But I have a flight tomorrow. I'm still not deciding. The other person's fine with it. I still haven't decided if I'm gonna go, but I'm checked in for
Oh
it.
yeah,
I haven't
I forgot that was.
yeah, I'm supposed to go visit my mom
Yeah, I forgot about that.
in Colorado.
That's
But
funny. Are you
it's
gonna
like,
go to the Living Brave event
oh, is that happening? That's
on like
happening
the
this week?
31st or something?
Oh, I
You
won't
could
be there on
pop
the
in. You're
31st.
like,
I
hey,
should pop in. I
hey,
should.
girl.
That would be fun.
Thank you.
But yeah, I'm supposed to go visit her, but it's just like wildly busy before we leave for
Yeah,
Spain.
yeah.
Speaking of which, these are my questions for you.
Okay,
You just had a retreat.
I did.
How'd it go? Give me like the good, bad, and the ugly.
Ooh,
Ooh,
the
I don't like
good,
ugly. Give me the good, bad, and
the good.
the beautiful and sexy, and also
Okay,
ugly. Just give it to
okay.
me straight.
I'll just give you straight. The good was it's really, really funny. Like I was finding videos to send to my coach from when I first moved to America about like I started hosting events in Dallas and like my big vision and putting on panels and putting on like bringing like-minded humans together, being very selective with who's allowed. So it's a high caliber of human beings that are out ready, like all this stuff. And then all of a sudden I'm sitting here being like, oh shit, I'm doing that. But it's not in the way I had planned. Like I am now doing it. It's my boyfriend's brand. And so I'm behind the scenes and it's just very different for me in that type of way because I'm a main character energy. Let's be fucking honest. And like, I love attention. I love praise. Like, I love, oh my fucking God, you blow my mind. And in this season, in this last 2 months, I have been straight up supportive role. Like, even in my own business, like, my business is running and churning and I'm having great months, but like, nothing's like, oh my God, like mind blowing. But this event, it was literally sold out, ran out of seats, packed room, like so cool, people crying, like it was the dopest thing. And I'm learning how to, I'm really strong when it comes to podcasting. Like I can drop in and channel. I'm really strong when it comes to my coaching containers and things like that. I'm not, I used to, my first business was public speaking and events and things like I'm not as strong in it anymore. So it's fun to like stretch this new muscle of myself and also see my man's genius. Like it's been so smart. Like his charisma and like his energy, like it's just I've never seen anyone speak the way that he speaks and be able to pull this out of him, and then looking around the room and seeing these people just sobbing and having these transformations and like this type of energy where I was like, oh, and like I feel like I'm shifting the way that I see him because for the longest time my protective strategy is like, I'm not going to see your genius. I'm just going to keep this humble. I'm going to do these kind of things. And I do that with myself, and to like be in that room. And like I said, in the last 2 weeks, I don't know what Arizona did to me, but it really shifted me into my freaking surrender. So to be able to see that version of him and just be like, oh, like being with this man is not going to be for the weak hearted. Like it's just not. He is meant for something huge, and to see God working through and the connections and the investors that want to work with us to build out the next one and like this whole thing, I'm like, this is wild to me. This is wild. It's not the way I had envisioned. It's a huge act. It's a huge ego death for me, but truly trusting just like there's a reason. There's a reason I'm in the supportive role. There's a reason this is happening, and just, figuring out ways to fill up my own cup in the process of building out that.
It's wild, right?
It's
I love
really
this.
wild.
I love this for you. Like, A, of course, like it's not happening in the way that you thought. B, I love that you get to see your man and his genius because
Yeah.
I think that that is such a powerful, powerful thing to witness, especially because it's like right when we're in relationships, like you see him at home,
Yeah.
you see him in your relationship things, you see him in a date. Like it's a very different setting to see him like up on stage,
Yeah.
and like to see and to witness that version is like, so
It's
good.
so
So
good.
good.
It's
So
so good. And
good.
it's just interesting because it is. You see him in the day to day and you're like, okay,
Yeah.
whatever. And like, I don't know, it just shifts. And then all of a sudden you see this and you're like,
Yeah.
just like what?
It's so
It's really cool.
beautiful. It's so interesting also. I love this ego death for you. I think
Mhm.
we recorded a podcast on this exact thing. Like the ego death that I think
Yeah.
when I was going through it.
Yeah.
I think on this exact entire topic. So you guys can go back and listen to that unplugged.
Yeah.
But the whole ego death that comes when you support your man's
Your
vision.
man and his leadership.
you
Yes.
know?
Oh, yeah,
And
we did record a
remember
podcast
that?
on
Because
that,
this
yeah.
is literally the whole ego death that I had of like,
Uh-huh.
whoa. I think it was because I took a week to go travel with him to like,
It was that. And you
yeah,
were supporting
about
him
it.
in the gem shows and all the things, and you're like,
I was like, who
I
am
need
I
to be
now?
filled up. Like, I need to go do something. Someone be proud of me about something. Like,
Yeah,
I don't
I need to
know.
go with my laptop for an
Yeah.
hour. Yeah, but you know, it's like the whole thing that I've been walking through for a whole year. It's like,
Mhm.
what is that like to support your man? And just to, there's no right or wrong answer, you
Yeah.
know, but like to see you in that and how much, uh, it's like there's a dynamic energy that comes from that of like, wow, you are such a multifaceted woman that now you can drop into this side as well of like supporting someone, and also like a win for you is a win for me sort of thing. And being in your power in that is really
See,
freaking
that's what I'm
awesome.
struggling with though,
Yeah,
because
tell me, I was about to say, tell me
we're
the flip
so
side.
new. So like a win for
Yeah.
you isn't necessarily a win for me.
Yeah.
Like we're not
1,000%.
at that stage where I can just be like, yeah, I get it. And so like it is
Mhm.
a true act of when I have no fucking clue what I'm doing, because this is not how my parents were. Like my parents' marriage is not a model of it.
Yeah.
No, it's just a no for me. And I am like literally floundering, and I bless him because I'm like, just have patience with me. Like, it's not that I don't want to learn this skill, but I don't know it. Like, this isn't something I know. And then when he's winning, I'm sitting there being like, uh, like it's not a
Mhm.
win for me yet because we're not
You're
there.
not
Like,
married
we're
too.
not married.
Yeah.
We haven't even said I love you yet. Like I have expressed these certain
No.
things. No, we haven't
Really?
even done no. And like so I'm sitting there, I know, but I'm just like sitting here being like, okay, pace, blah blah blah. Like I'm once again, I'm not doing something first. I'm waiting for a man to fucking do that and like fully feel claimed in that. And so I'm challenged. It is like the biggest ego death for me right now to truly trust in
Mm.
God, because I can't explain it to you. Like there is something in my body that is just like, is that feeling where it's like there's something greater than you'll ever, like you don't have results yet and just trust me. Like that is
Mhm.
something, even if I said that, like my body just got like warm through my felt sense where it's like just trust me. But because I love control and I love to know the outcome and I love things within my own dynamic to know what's going to happen next and that I can still succeed, I don't yet believe in the win for you is a win for me. Like, but that's
Welcome.
relationship. Like
Yeah.
that is what you have to trust
Yeah.
in order to be in relationship, because otherwise you're going to be competing with your partner the whole time.
Yeah.
And the truth is, and something my friends always remind me is like, Laura, you prayed for this.
Mhm.
You always knew you were going to be the person supporting the man. I've
Mm.
always known that. It's not me to be, I don't being the breadwinner and doing the things and like leading the stuff. That's just kind of my trauma response of what I've had
Mm.
to do. But like my natural, I'm a quiet person. Like I am a deep person. I am not the person like when he goes on stage, he is Tony Robbins in the making. Like it's that type of thing. Like he's meant for that. But like it is one of those things where I'm like, sold out the membership, selling the next event, packed room, all the sponsors, people already wanting to do this, people wanting to invest. I'm like sitting here and I'm like, I'm definitely a part of it and my name is on it and all these things like in that way, like people know there, but like it's not mine. Like it's his. And so I have to know internally, like there is value for me in this. And I have to keep reminding myself, even if my name's not on it, it is mine. And in a
Mhm.
way, and like it wouldn't happen if it wasn't also for me, but like it has been a huge ego death that I am still trying to catch up to.
Yeah. Isn't the ego death the value?
Oh god, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I
1,000.
think that's the whole point of it. Whether this lasts the rest of my life or this is just the season, like it's a thing where I'm like, this is so good for me. Like
Mm.
I
Yeah.
can't explain it, and I can't wait till he can actually see that version of me where I'm like, I'm fully fucking in. I'm not going to get it right. I'm going to get defensive. I'm going to do the things. I'm going to need to be extra validated, all that kind of stuff. But like, I can't tell you how thankful I am for it. Like,
Mhm.
this version of me that's coming live is like, this is what I've wanted for the last 2 years, where I'm like, I want the ego death. I want to figure out how to be submissive. I want to figure out how to be that wife that I never got modeled, like in my house, of like, that version of like celebratory, all in, like a win for you is a win for me. Like that is how I picture my marriage. But like I have no fucking clue how to do that. Like, so now that this is happening, I'm like, I cry almost every day. But like, like, but I love it in the most heartfelt way where I'm like, oh my God, like this is so beautifully challenging. Not like in the wrong ways challenging, like it's so good for
It's
this challenge.
terrifying.
It's
Yeah.
terrifying. It's fucking
Yeah, it's
terrifying because it's actually
terrifying.
giving up all control.
Yeah, it's so funny because I remember walking through this and being like, "Holy shoot. This is everything that I've ever wanted."
Mhm.
And oh my God, I'm fucking terrified because this means I have to give up all of the ways that I have created safety within my own life.
Uh-huh.
And, your attachment to your time, your attachment to, because also, let's be honest, right? Like, there is no ring on it. There is no
Mhm.
promise of tomorrow,
Yeah.
which makes it more kind of high risk. I'm so excited to see. I was just thinking about this. I'm so excited to see what that is like, that dynamic is like
Hmm.
once there is a deeper level of commitment,
Yeah.
and once there is like that promise of everything in a future and marriage, like what that teamwork can actually be and do. Because I always talk about this with Nolan because he's like, oh, like it is for you. Like it's all like when for example, today he's like making this graphic and I'm like, get up. Let
Yeah.
me, let me,
Yeah.
let me fix the spacing. It just looked like a man had did it, which was
Yeah.
nothing wrong with it. It was great. It was such a good start. It just needed the spacing needed to be fixed. Okay.
Yeah.
And so I was like, all right, let me fix this. Right. And so even doing something as simple as that, there is a component where, especially for a high performing woman, it's like, no, but like my time is my safety, my effort, my energy, that's my safety. Because when I spend this on myself, I know that I'm safe. If I spend it on you, I don't know if you're going to leave. I don't know if this is going to benefit me. I don't know if I'm going to be supported. I don't know X, Y, and Z. I don't know if a ball is going to drop within my life. Oh, I love you.
You just found the words.
Yeah, I get you.
That is literally it.
Yeah, it's terrifying. Like, I don't think this is what I think is so beautiful about the feminine is we have such a peculiar experience in this world where there are so many different identity shifts that happen. Like, I think about this also with becoming a mom. What happens if
Mhm.
I give up some of my time to raise my kids? And, like, what if? Like, what happens then? There's no problem. Like in that level, there's hopefully a promise that they're going to be there
Yeah.
forever, right? But like it's the same thing where it's like that full and complete surrender where you don't know if they're going to be there, but it's giving up your own safety that you've created for yourself, being a highly independent woman for so long within your life, and
It
to
is.
share that with someone else is terrifying.
And to trust, like, it's just that, like, I can trust me. I
Yeah.
will never leave me. I am my best ROI. I know how to make things, I know how to get things done. I know how to do the things, and to be able to sit there and go, can I trust someone else to do it? And can I trust someone else in such an early stage? Because I am giving you my time, and my time is how I control my life.
Yeah.
And also, it's my biggest love language, quality time. And
Yeah.
so it's just like, I'm giving you all of this time. And that's what I've been navigating now is like, I've given you all of this time.
Yeah.
Like, so much to build this out. And I wouldn't trade it for the world because I too have learned all this other stuff that I can apply and grow. And like, there's no false things in that. And I blame no one other than myself. But it's then looking at like, but there's no promise of what happens with that.
Yeah.
Like, I just gave you all of this, and like sitting here being like, I just want to be celebrated, or I just want to be seen, I just want this part. But like, something I'm internally walking through is like, can you know that that's enough just for self? Can you do it from a self-serving place versus the expectation of getting validated? And I'm not saying I get that right, because I can sit there and I can go too far into someone else's. And we've spoken about this, is like, I love going in your business because then I don't just look with mine. Like, it's like, this is easier. But
Way
like,
easier.
but like sitting there and then getting mad because I'm like, oh, but I'm not, my vision, like my energy isn't entangled in my work. And honestly, at the end of the day, like, I don't even know if I want it to be. Like, I
Yeah.
like having my split energy. I love being a part of this mission and vision. And then I can feel my ego pulling in, being like, but no, wait. Like,
Yeah.
your name's not on this. This is dumb. Like, there's no commitment. Like, sure, you just met the parents and you did the things and we talk about marriage and we do the thing. But let's be honest, there's no commitment.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of, just like shakiness and things of that nature because it's so new. Like, that is very normal. And so it's just sitting there being like, can you trust that there's no time wasted?
Yeah.
Again, working on detachment with still being attached. Like, my coach said to me, and I started sobbing the other day, where it was just like, okay, we're working on being detached and getting in my own energy and being in my leadership and not just being the cheerleader, like actually being able to show up to the retreat and like be me as I
Yeah.
am, like the leader, because it's really hard for me because I'm just like his biggest fan, and I'm like sitting there and being like, like I just want to do all the things, but like that takes away from my own magic and not being seen, which then leads to me being bitter.
1,000%. Yeah.
And so we're walking through that, and she goes, after our call, she voice noted me, and she's like, but also, Laura, just reminder, just a few months ago, this is exactly what you were praying for.
Yeah.
You are running a retreat with your man, hosting events with extraordinary top leaders in Tampa, networking with all of these, having the friend group that you have, making consistent income, being healthy, and meeting the parents. Like, just a reminder, you're there. And I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
you're right. Okay, let me stop making chaos in my mind.
So beautiful.
Yeah.
It's so
Wild. You put
beautiful.
the words on it, though. You nailed that.
I love you.
I love you.
It's so interesting. Girl, you asked for it to be sped up.
Literally.
I mean, I held so tightly onto my own independence. We also didn't have an experience that had called for it
Yeah.
until like 3 years into our relationship when we moved here to Connecticut. And now there's like this whole huge business that we're running as well, you know, like
Yeah. That's
it's
that
not
thing.
that.
It's like the timeline is just so fast.
So,
Like,
but
it's
you
like,
asked
look,
for it to be fast.
I literally play, and I knew a
Yeah,
person that I met the timeline would be fast. Like, it's just,
1,000%.
it's the way life works. Like, my coach literally laughs at me every time we talk every 2 weeks. She's like, you've lived 80 lifetimes. And I was like, I know. It's just kind of the way it works. Like, it doesn't surprise me, but like at the same time, I'm so stretched. I'm
Yeah.
so stretched. And so I'm really excited to see like the next season,
Mhm.
because this just ended. The next one's going to be in January. And like the
What is
growth
it like?
portal, what's going to be, because God's hand is so in this. I can't even describe all the things that have been happening that I'm like,
Yeah.
we don't even have to try. Like, it's just kind of happening. And it's
Exactly.
wild, but it's wild because it's happening for you, not me. And I'm like, I don't, but like what's happening for you is happening for me. Like, I
Yeah.
can't describe it because I'm
Here's
sitting
how I
there.
like to see it too.
Yeah.
Nolan's one of my clients sometimes.
So I was thinking about this in my head, where I
Hmm.
was like, this is the epitome of my client. Like,
Yeah.
I'm like, because I do his marketing
Yeah.
and like all of the things behind it and like all of that. And I was like, it's just a wild success.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. That's how I have to treat it sometimes in my mind because I went through that whole and like you're in your process, right? And like for me, my process is going to be lifelong. This is just one
Mhm.
little piece that I've started to reconcile within my mind, especially when I went through this whole thing with Nolan around like giving him some of my time and like different things. Um, was I was like, oh my gosh, I'm doing this all for him. And his name is on it. My name is nowhere in the business yet. That's going to change. But like, what, you know what I mean? Like, what is this for? And he's like, no, it's like for both of us. And I wouldn't be doing this if it weren't for you. Like all of this stuff. But I'm like, no, but they on some like deep level, I'm like, whoop. And so then my resentment would come in and be
Mhm.
like the projector bitterness of like, oh my God, I'm spending all my time. And also my brain can very, very easily, as we've said this, be stuck like in other people's problems and worlds and things like
Yeah.
that. And I have to be very conscious about pulling myself away. It's like my clients, when they're like, yeah, I'm around my boyfriend, I don't get any work done. I'm like, yeah, it makes sense. They're like, there's nothing wrong with you. Like, put yourself in a different room, pull yourself away, give yourself
Yeah.
a time limit, ask your boyfriend to be like, hey, I see that you're not working on your stuff. Go. Like, or like
Yeah.
do something else. You know what I mean? Like, I sometimes will have a hard time pulling myself away. And so that resentment would come in. And so I was like, you know what I finally came to after I went through the whole death portal and everything was like, all right, Nolan's one of my clients. And not that I treat him like a client, I coach him
Yeah.
like a client, but the time that I give to him is like what I would give to a client who just, you know, was on a higher package or something like that, you
Yeah.
know, and I feed into it as like, oh, this is also building my work, because before I would see it as very separate, where I would do literally how I describe, you know, to people who ask like, oh, what do you actually do for Nolan? I'm like, oh, I literally do what I do for my clients, but for him, I build out his systems. I communicate. Well, I didn't do this for clients, but I communicate with like our assistant. all the different things on the back end for his business. I help him with his social media and marketing, big picture planning, goal setting, all of that stuff so that he can be in his magic. And it really doesn't take that much of my time, but it's still something that I like to do. And so before, I would see that as separate, as like, what kind of gain am I getting out of this other than making
Yeah.
you wildly successful? And that was my own ego. And you were like, Steph, you literally always said this to me. You're like, Steph, they're one and the same. Like, don't you see it? Like, what you're
Yeah.
doing for him is literally what you do in this world. Like, it's one and the same. It only builds your brand. And I was like, oh, okay, you're right. Okay, got it. And like, it took me a while for my energy to get behind that because I saw it as taking away from my business instead of
Yeah.
building my business and my leadership. And now I see it, and it's a lifelong process, I think, personally, or at least this season of life, it's a process where I see it as something that's actually building my brand. It's just in a different way, and it's not in the cookie cutter way that I had envisioned it on my vision board when I didn't realize all the dynamics of a relationship and how powerful teamwork actually is. Because the vision held by 2 or more people is the most powerful vision, point blank, hands down, no matter what. And so I've always said I will make him as successful as I can possibly make him because that's what I want to see for him in this world. And he also says vice versa for me. But everything builds everything. They have to both build. This just in a different way than before. And for me, seeing him as my client sometimes is like, all right,
It
help me
helps.
put time boundaries on it too, where like Tuesday morning, he and I sit down, we have like a 2-hour meeting, and then I talk to our VA, I delegate everything out. And then it's basically done for the rest of the week, unless I go in and I shoot like social media content for him, like here and there. We're not as consistent with that part. But usually I just spend that like Tuesday morning, which again, you told me when I was walking, I'm just going to give you back everything.
No, I need it. I need it.
You were like, Steph, when I was going through this and I was like, oh my God, Laura, like, who am I? And like the ego death and everything. You were like,
the days.
Yeah, you go, Steph, have you like dedicated like a day to where you help him? And I was like, no, it's like more complicated than that. Like,
But
I was
I'm like,
so resistant to
I
it.
love it, but that's like what I'm recognizing now because that's
Yeah.
today. Like today, I was like, no, I'm not going to. Like his parents are in town, so I'm like, I'm not doing. I need to be in my business. Like I need a day,
Yeah.
but I need 2 days because I'm recognizing today needs to be a mental health day, and tomorrow needs to be an in my business day. So I'm like, I'm not going to lunch tomorrow. I'm not doing any. Like I'm sorry, I will be there for sunset photos and do the whole thing, but like. I need today to be in my feels because I'm a projector and I just need to feel things. And then I need a business day. And it's like, oh, okay, like I need to restructure that too because I'm like, my days are fine. I have this day and this day and this day. And it's like, no, Laura, you love being a girlfriend and you love being a supportive girlfriend. So, but then you get mad about it. No one's asking you to fucking do that. And I'm like, fine.
Yeah.
Structure, slightly
Monday.
codependent, whatever.
I love you.
No.
Being a girlfriend's fun. Yeah. What I also
So
realized
funny.
is that if I hit Nolan first thing in the week on Mondays with like, we need to have a team meeting, blah, 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 like, let me get everything straight on your business and also my business. 'Cause Mondays I usually use for like, let's see what the projects are for the week and like organizing everything. If I hit him with that first thing Monday, he also feels taken out of his genius because he's like, I have so many projects that are on my mind. I need to get my mind straight, like without you for the start of the week. And so we use Mondays as like, I'm in my business, he's in his. Tuesday morning, we have our team meeting. I make him sit down and like, we look at all the things. We delegate it out. I have a meeting with my BA on Tuesday afternoon. And then the rest of Tuesday is client projects. Wednesday, Thursday, client calls. Friday is like, free day, creative day, and then the weekend, which is who knows though, right? Like it's always different depending on the day, but it's like it helps my brain be able to like, whoo, okay.
Yeah, that's what we need to get better on is actually having a day because he just likes to call me all day.
Yeah.
Like, and it interrupts. But I let it because I'm just like,
totally.
yeah, like I can quickly do this and I can quickly fix this. And
that.
Especially with the retreat, because I was like, everything seemed to be on fire. And so it won't be like that now, but we are planning another retreat. So it's like, and we're planning a bigger conference. So it's just like, okay, we need structure. And we also need to add in date days because I can realize like the part of me that was like striving for love and connection. I'm like, I can't just do work. Like, I need my boyfriend. Like, I need you to just look me in the eyes. But like the thing we were running into is like he's at full capacity. So then when date night comes, he's like, I can't have a deep conversation with you. And I'm like, that's literally all I need right now. And so it's like, we have to play with that kind of thing as well
Yeah.
as like adding that into the schedule where it's like, okay, you have a day to yourself then. And then the next day we have date day. And day to yourself does not mean you working even harder to get everything done. It's like you go to the beach, you go in nature, like go fill yourself up. And
Yeah.
then let's have a date day
Yeah.
and figure that part out. Cause it's just like, it's wild. Like, I don't know if I wanted to do a business with a partner. Like, and especially someone that does what I do. Like,
Yeah.
we're two coaches. But like what I'm seeing now is like I'm the business side and he's like execution. Like he has
Mhm.
that energy, his generator self. And it's just like, okay, I'm the back end business side of stuff. And that does mean I'm on like the quieter, not so seen side. And it's just kind of playing with that stuff of like, okay, can we put things in order? I still need to work on my business here. I need to do these things. I need to not burn myself out by doing the back end of your business when I needed to be doing the back end of my business. Like
Yeah.
we just learned a lot. We learned a lot with this. Well, I can't speak for him. I learned a lot in this.
Yeah. Yeah.
Still learning.
I love that. Yeah. Your purpose will always be in you. Like it has to be.
Yeah.
And
The
it
thing
will
that I'm
yank you
realizing
back
is
to
like
it.
I haven't been using that part though.
Yeah.
Like my story and my purpose and my things. Like I've really been leaning heavily into the business side of stuff. And I'm like, wait, no. We have a big whole mission God put us through in order to serve. So it's figuring out how that all fits again.
Yeah. It will always yank you back.
Yeah.
Purpose is a
Always.
funny way of doing that when you're here for a big mission and there is
Yeah.
something that that was bestowed upon you by your life experiences and a mission that's on your heart. Like if you get imbalanced, for me, my body speaks to me. If I'm imbalanced and I'm not paying attention to that purpose
Mm-hmm.
and I'm just like only being in the supporting role or only focusing on my clients' work or things like that, and I'm not focused on my bigger picture mission or purpose, it will yank me back and my body
Yeah.
will speak to me in that way of like, whoo, I can feel internally what it feels like to be imbalanced now.
Yeah.
I
Same.
I
You know
love
what's been so funny? Because like in this season, I have zero interest in like sugar or alcohol. And I'm like,
that.
my body is literally fighting to just be
Yeah.
like balance. And I'm like, usually that's when I used to go to alcohol or sugar and be like, fuck it all. And I'm like, I literally yesterday we were at dinner and I was like, and he's like, try this. And I was like a sip of wine that he's been waiting to have with his dad. And I was just like, ugh.
Yeah. You just don't have, for me, it's
I
like I don't have
don't have
capacity for
capacity.
something that's going to knock off my center of balance.
Yeah.
Like
Don't
caffeine,
have it.
alcohol, staying up late.
Even caffeine, yeah, like I
Love
don't
it.
have capacity. My body's like, I don't want this coffee. And I'm like, when do you not want coffee? What do you need? You have like
Yeah,
3 a
that's
day.
crazy.
And so my body I know, that's how I know my body's like, chill. Because it's like my body's just like,
Nope.
no. And I'm like, how are you gonna get through this day? You slept 3 hours. What are you gonna do? Yeah, yeah. We're gonna have some fun. Just kidding. I'm like sitting there being like, no, can't.
Yeah.
Can't even that though. Like microdosing, I'm like, my body's like, no. My
Yeah.
body just literally
Like
wants to be on the human
anything.
plane.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like we just want to sit. And I'm like, but stop sitting. Like,
Yeah.
take action on your business and do something.
But you need to come back to yourself first. Like
yeah,
you literally would always tell me this. Funny how that works. You
give
need
it
a
10 million.
protector day.
I do. That
You
was
need a
supposed to be
protector day.
today.
You gotta come back to yourself. You gotta
That was
rest.
supposed to be today, and then it was supposed to be tomorrow, and then I was supposed to, maybe after the parents leave. I
I
don't
think
know.
honestly though, like anytime though having family in town, for me, it's always I know it's gonna be like and if I get 2 hours to myself,
Yeah,
amazing, but it's not the
it's
same
not the
as
same.
if you're by yourself and you
Well,
get
also because this is the
you
first
know,
time. I mean, here's
yeah,
the
it's
thing that
so
my boyfriend decided to do: run a retreat, have me speak on stage, meet his parents and his best friends all within the same 24 hours. And I was like, and he like can't see how that's a big deal to me. Where I'm just like, I'm at capacity. I really like. I've got nothing in me right now. And for him, because it's not a big deal, because those are his comfort zone. Like he's comfortable in all these things. I'm like, I'm learning Spanish. Everything is new. I am. I'm learning, like, I literally cried after class today because I was like, I'm at capacity, like, I'm doing nothing right because it's all new. I don't feel confident in
Yeah.
anything I'm doing right now. That I was just like, I'm at capacity and trying to translate to a man that's in that right now where he's also at capacity, but he doesn't get it because he's in his comfort. You're with your parents. Like, that is safe for you. You're with your best friends. That is safe for you. You're doing your type, you're doing your business. That's safe for you. You're speaking your language. That's safe for you. I'm like, none of this is what I do.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I'm going home. Like,
Yeah.
I'm going home. His mom was walking with me to the thing. She's like, you go home and relax. And we both just started laughing because she could see it in my face.
Yeah.
Like, I gotta go for a second. We'll
Yeah.
see you guys in 2 days.
I love it.
Oh, I love this.
Well, what started as comedic relief?
We can hit him with the chicken. Let us know, guys. Email us.
Do you
Drop
eat
us in our inbox.
rotisserie chicken with your hands?
Do you eat rotisserie chicken?
That's what we need to know.
Because you
Or
feel
is that neat?
kind of savage, and you're like, I just want to do it.
Just want to do
Or
it.
is it just us?
I like to eat like a lot of things with my hands.
Mhm.
To be honest,
Same.
it's a program that I'm
I'm not.
my whole family would get so mad at me because they'd be like, well, if she doesn't eat with a fork and knife at home, she's not going to do it when she's at an important meal. And so they'd like make me sit down and not stand up on the table and normal things, you know?
Yeah.
And then I was like, stop putting me in a box. So now I
I'm
eat
gonna
with my
do it.
hands because you know what? Fuck it. That's what you
I
can do
just
as an
like
adult.
it. It's just also like my
Sensory.
lazy ass. If I'm just biting something, I don't want to wash a fork.
No, absolutely not. We're not. Have you ever done the tongue trick?
You pick it
You
up
put
with your
something
tongue.
in a bowl and you just
Dish. 100%.
Of course.
Of course I
That's
could. I don't know. I think
it.
that's what
So
happens when
it's
you're a
great.
girl and the boys are out of town. You're like, girl dinner.
Oh my
Also,
god, I
I'm
introduced
not
Joel
using
to girl dinner
cutlery.
last night. We had
You
girl dinner
know, and I'm
last
over
night.
eating dinner at
It was so good.
9:30, pretending like we're in Europe when we're not. I'm in bed at 9:30. I'm like,
I don't know how I'm gonna handle that when we go to
yeah, it's just like yesterday we literally sat down for dinner at 9:30
No.
for the actually all weekend. That's what time we eat. I eat dinner at 5:30 in case anyone was wondering, and I go to bed at 9. So that's been fun. Anyway,
Oh,
that's a cool
anyway.
life update. That was so
Life
cute. We totally
update.
didn't go deep. That was really funny. I laughed so hard.
We were hilarious. Well, that was on brand. So
So it's pretty on brand.
now I
Anyway,
have to make food because my blood sugar is so low. I'm so
yeah,
tasty. And
I
that's
need to
fine.
go eat some beef. I don't know. I'm trying this whole thing. Like, I eat a bowl of meat every day because Lauren Bosnick said she did it. So I'm just trying to be like,
I need to go.
goodbye with you guys.
Honestly, protein is the way to do it.
Yeah, it's the
That's
main.
last night I literally ate ground beef for dinner.
That's what I'm about to go do.
It's really good.
Yeah,
It's
cool.
so satisfying. Tell
It
that
is.
to the inner vegan in me. That was
Literally,
vegan. If you're vegan, awesome, power to you. It just
just didn't work
didn't
for me.
work for me long term.
It didn't work. It didn't work at all. All right, guys, we love y'all.
Love you guys. Like, subscribe, review.
Review. Let us know over on Instagram. My Instagram is it's Laura Patricia Martin.
Mine is at Stephanie Elsperman.
Yay.
You can
Love you
find me
guys.
there. We'll see you on the next one. Mwah, bye.